At some point in business, you stop asking how to grow and you start asking, what's this all actually worth? Not just revenue, but value. Could you sell it? Would someone buy it? Or did you just build yourself a job? Because that's the conversation most business owners avoid until it's too late. Hey, welcome back to the eForts podcast, where leaders are made and legacies are built. I'm your host, Cory Long. Today, we're diving into something that almost every business owner thinks about at some point, but very few are actually prepared for. I've got Kellen Ketcho joining me today. Kellen's background is really interesting. He's worked in genetic testing, biomedical leadership, helped direct and innovative biotech, and now he's the founder of STAG Business Coaching. What I respect about Kellen is the way he thinks in systems, how he builds and helps business owners not just grow, but actually build something that's valuable, scalable, and ultimately exit ready. Beyond that, he's a husband, a father of three, grounded in his faith, and leads in a way that integrates business, family, and purpose. So Kellen, man, glad to have you on the show today. Man, I'm pumped to have this conversation today because I know you guys spent a little bit of time with you, starting to learn a bit about your business. And so I know there was a big transition point from what you did to what you're doing now. Give our audience a little bit of an idea of how that happened.
Yeah, so just like you said in the intro, my background's in genetics, and I worked at the Mayo Clinic up in Rochester, Minnesota for a little while, human genetic testing. Came back to Lubbock because that's where family is, and that's home for us. Worked for a biomedical company, and then joined a startup that was doing drug discovery and ingredient research for pharmaceuticals and food companies, things like that. And that's how I really got into operations. So I went from being the science nerd to the operations guy, building a team, and really loved that. I love being the bridge between, the data and all the nerd stuff, but also the people side and getting everybody to see the vision and chase after it. So after doing that with the startup here, that was a spinoff company from some technology out of Texas Tech, we started STAG Business Coaching. Originally focused more on the operation side of people's businesses. But over time, we've tailored what we offer to be more geared towards those business owners that are looking to eventually exit, sell their business. And so it works really well with our partnership and the group of guys that we work with. So a lot of synergy there.
Yeah. So one of the things you and I have talked about is, and I do know you're just chatting with you, just a little bit of conversations that we've had so far. I can tell you're definitely, you probably have read Traction, I'm sure, Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
Right. You're definitely lean towards the system operations side of the business. That's you. I'm definitely on the other side of that. Like I'm the sales guy, the vision guy. Like that's where I lean. It's very interesting, the different directions that owners and business entrepreneurs take. When you look at a business right now and you start to kind of dig into that as you guys do coaching, what are those big movers from somebody going from a operator to an owner? Because really, if they're going to exit the business, they've got to get out of operations at some point to be able to have value in that business, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is if you are a business owner that feels like a lot lives in here in your head, and people are always coming to you to ask you questions or make sure they're doing it the right way. We see a lot of business owners, especially small business owners, even if they have a team of people, a lot of what needs to happen still flows through them. Yeah. And so that's really like the easiest tell is if you're a business owner that's just always having to be on day and night. And I think that really affects people, not just, in the work environment, but your personal life, your family. And we want people to thrive. We want to see our business owners, realizing the dream that they set out to embark on in the beginning. And I like what you said at the beginning, a job, you can create for yourself a job, a prison of your own making. Yeah. And unlike a job where you're employed by somebody, you can't just walk away because people depend on you. So there's a lot of business owners that feel trapped like that. And that's the purpose, the thing that gives me fulfillment is seeing those business owners break through that. So
Yeah, I know when we first started our business, our goal was 11 years ago to do ministry without taking a paycheck. So we had
Yeah.
done all the ministry for 17 years, got out of that, started doing the business, and our whole purpose in our brain, like we thought, oh, if we get to this point, we do this thing, then we'll be able to go do ministry work without taking a paycheck. And I get probably 2.5 years into our business. We're running a chunk of money. I've got 18 employees, and I wake up one day and I'm going, this is not what I signed up for. Like I'm going in every day. I'm working 60, 70-hour weeks. We're cranking. We're making more money
Yeah.
than we've ever made, and life was good from that sense. But
Yeah.
we weren't doing ministry work the way we really wanted to, and we didn't have the freedoms that we wanted to. What kind of questions do you ask business owners to start getting them to kind of move through that process? Because I know you guys, I already know y'all probably have a process that you run them through as you guys go through what you do with their from the business coaching stance. But what are some of those questions that business owners really need to kind of process through and think about?
Yeah, I mean, the first questions that we ask are really just getting to know the business and the bottom line numbers, and analyzing from, kind of a data standpoint. But some of the bigger picture questions that I think a business owner needs to ask themselves is, what am I really trying to achieve, and when is
Mhm.
enough enough?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story. We had one client that was looking to expand into a new market, and these guys that own this business that's not their primary income source. They're all a group of doctors that owned a business that they had started together for additional income. And so they were looking to expand that business into a new market. And we went through an extensive project of, doing all the costing and forecasting of what it would look like for them to open this new place in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And we were at that point where it's like, it was time to make a decision. It was gut check time. And we
Yeah.
looked around the room and we said, why are you guys wanting to expand? Because it was going to be 5+ years before they really got to a point where they broke even on all the input costs and everything. And one of them said, well, I just want to be at that place where I can vacation more and spend time with my kids and do mission trips. Knowing what we did about their business already,
Yeah.
we kind of looked at him and we were like, you're already there. He was already financially comfortable enough and in that place. And he realized that he had always just kind of stayed in chase mode, and more is always better. And it was funny because that conversation was just asking the question made the light bulb come on.
Yeah.
They ended up deciding not to expand, and decided that was the right decision. And we've worked with them for over a year since then, and they're still happy with the decision that they made. So yeah, asking a business owner what their long-term goals are. Sometimes people don't stop and think about that.
Yeah.
They're just in empire building mode, and they never really stop and look around and ask why. And then when is enough enough? Because we work for a purpose, and money is just a tool. It's not the end all be all. So
Yeah.
thinking at that big picture, I think, helps kind of set the table for what you really want to do with the rest of the details when we work
Yeah.
together.
What's there's that story about the fisherman that's in Mexico and he's laying on the beach hanging out, and you've heard that, right? And the guy's going, man, if you would just get some boats and da 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 da, then you could lay around on the beach. And he's like, I'm already doing that. Why would I? Like, why would I want to go do all that other stuff and have employees and blah, 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 blah. You're right.
Exactly.
Like, I know the business owners that I come into contact with, a lot of them, like you said, they set out with a purpose, and then somewhere in there, life just got so busy, and between employees or cash flow or payroll or clients or account management or whatever it is, life just got so busy they lost sight of what it would be like to really do what they set out to do initially. Yeah, I think that's hard. And I think a lot of business owners that I come into contact with, there isn't an end, right? And so do you suggest somebody starting from the beginning? Because I know a lot of the business coaches that I've talked to that kind of work with exit strategies and that kind of thing. Do you start with the exit in mind? Is that something that you guys work with them on?
Yeah, especially with clients that say that they want to try to exit in the next, 2 to 5 years, for example. Um, then we want to know what they think that valuation could be.
Yeah.
And we also want to, from our side, give them a valuation that we think is realistic right now, and also what we think it could look like if we were to work together, and go through our process for making the business more turnkey. So, yeah, I think that's important to know what you're aiming for.
So what do you think makes the business valuable? I think that's a great question because you see all these businesses out there for sale right now. And you and I
Yeah,
both know some of them are pretty spot on, and some of them, these guys think their business is worth a whole lot more than what it's worth. And I think a lot of times it's hard too because the owner is the business. Take the owner out of the
yeah,
business and the business goes away. He's got all the relationships, he's got all of the skill set, everything.
yeah. And then if you're the buyer in a situation like that, really all you're just buying is a client list, and
Yeah.
you don't even know those clients that
No.
well. So it's really not a good place for people to be. I think for us, as far as helping a business owner understand where the value could be, obviously you start with your EBITDA, and so where you're sitting as a business right now, but then how can we justify an increase on the multiple? And a lot of times the way you move that lever is with de-risking a transaction.
Mm,
And so if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at your business, like you just said, you just listed a bunch of the risks that are commonplace. How can we come into the business and make sure that we make a buyer feel confident that those risks aren't very big?
yeah.
So if a client's relationships are all in the owner's head, or how can we make set up a system, a process where we can create a transition, a handover of those relationships, or have people on a team that's still going to be around after the owner leaves,
Right.
be involved in that relationship management. Another thing that we like to do is see if there are any processes that rely on the owner. They might know how that's manufactured, and they may still be involved in some of the operations.
Hmm.
How can we get them out of that and make sure that it's all documented? There's a knowledge base that's searchable. AI, everybody talks about AI. We have a tool that is an AI driven platform that allows us to build a comprehensive knowledge base and make it all searchable, create trainings out of that, so that if I'm the new owner and I come in and I want to know how the previous owner was operating the business in any of these areas, like, well, now I can find out really quickly and not have to have them stay
Yeah.
on for a longer period, or always be on the phone with me. So those are some ways that we try to de-risk, is just implement processes and systems that, let's be honest, average business owner, they know they need this kind of thing, but they usually don't have time because
Yeah.
they're running the business. And
Yeah.
so it's not usually that people don't understand the importance of these things. It's just a matter of they don't know how to go about doing it in the best way, and they also just don't have the time. So
Yeah.
that's where STAG business coaching can help. Yeah.
So is most of, because I know you guys do masterminds, and then I assume you do the one-on-one coaching too. It sounds like give the listeners an idea of like what you offer, because I know we've talked a little bit about the masterminds. I'm not really sure even all of the logistics of that or how it works. So give our listeners the idea of what that looks like.
Cool. Yeah. So our mastermind groups are groups of about 10 business owners from a local area, meets in person once a month for about 3 hours. So we usually do like a Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we try to recruit the group to be a diverse group of people who might have some synergy in working together.
Hmm.
So, we might have a marketing company in the room and a bookkeeper and somebody who does, some things that are just completely, different from one
Different.
another, HVAC in a coffee shop or things like
Yeah.
that. And what's so fun about the mastermind groups is we see that these business owners, over the course of the 6 months that we run the group, end up becoming friends,
Yeah.
working together, referring to each other. And so in the mastermind, each month we'll go through some piece of what we would do in more depth with our one-on-one clients, but kind of a high level overview and some of the biggest return on investment things that they can do in that part of their business. And then we'll have a hot seat where we'll have one of the business owners that month present to the group and talk about what their biggest opportunity is right now for their business or the biggest challenge. And then as a group, we help kind of think through some strategies to address that challenge or opportunity for them. And oftentimes that's when people are like, oh, hey, I've got a great attorney for that. Let me get you guys connected. Or, oh, I know the perfect person in this industry. Let me make an introduction. So that's always fun to see that. And we have social events. So we're trying to build a community from all of these masterminds where over time, people from different masterminds are even getting to meet and network together. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah. And then our other primary offering is the exit coaching that we've been talking about, where we help business owners prepare for sale. And that might be imminent or it might be years from now. It just depends on where they're at. So one of our partners at STAG is a business broker. And so we've worked with business owners that he referred that are already listed. And we're actually trying to get them ready for a sale while they're already on the market. And in other cases, it'll be years before they list. But those are our two primary offerings. And then we have some tools and other SaaS products that we can use if those processes and systems.
So I know you said, because you and I were talking about this the other day, you were just talking about software. You guys have some software tools to help people with the training, it sounds like. And then what other things do you guys usually implement into those businesses? Because I know the idea would be to get, I assume the idea would be to get as much of that systemized as possible before the handoff ever happens.
Right. So to help business owners from the sales and marketing side in terms of automating that, we have a CRM product, so customer relationship management tool that can automate, those emails that you need to send out when things happen in your business, or can do your social media marketing, can follow up with, reviews on your Google business profile, things like that. So STAG CRM is the name of our product there, and that can help on the marketing side for our business owners. And then operations side, I already mentioned the STAG Ops product, which is that AI-driven platform that can build out a knowledge base, training, basically answer questions from either employees or a future business owner, so that what lives in the owner's head or what's best practice and the way of excellence for that business is documented and always there. So those are our primary tools. Then we have some other fun tools, that we pull out when we need to, like our valuation tool to help business owners know where the business value sits right now. We do a team assessment, which is a work style assessment, kind of like a personality test, but work style assessment that we do with individuals. And we also have a combined team assessment, which is where we take those individual profiles, and from those and what role they have in a business, we give a team profile, which is sort of like a SWOT analysis of how this team with these unique individuals in it, we would see strengths and weaknesses and areas for them to grow. And it's, if you put that into, what you're turning over to a prospective buyer of the business, along with the org chart and an idea of what the team looks like, it's a really cool picture of an insight into, if I buy this business and it's got these 8 employees, kind of here's what I can expect to see from each one of them and from them overall as a team. And so that's another part of the exit coaching and another example, one of the tools that we use for that. So
yeah, I would think the team would be
I enjoy all
important.
That. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most, or the part that people talk about the least, or at least don't think about as much. And I think it's the single most important thing in your business is, do you have a great team or not?
Yeah.
Any great business owners that I've talked to that, we have our podcast, the Business Growth Masterclass, and any of those owners that have, had companies IPO or be beyond, 7, 8 figures, they always go to talking about their team.
Right.
And that's always the pattern with people at that level. So, yeah, I think that's really where, if you're going to elevate your thinking as an owner, you got to be thinking of, the classic who, not how kind
Yeah.
of framework.
Great book, by the way. If you guys have
Yeah,
not read
yeah.
Who Not How, great book to read. I suggest it for all, like we talk about it all the time in my programs. I'm like, guys, you got to read this because I'm the kind of guy that goes immediately to how. My brain works that way. I just
Yeah.
immediately ask the how question, and I've intentionally changed the way I ask my questions to what's and how's and I'm sorry, what's and who's, and so that I can start to shift that way I think. Questions are super powerful, just like you said earlier. One question completely changed those doctors' future, what they were planning
Yeah.
on doing, how they were planning on spending the next 5 years of their lives building something that they weren't going to see a return for years and years and years. And I think some people jump into things thinking, oh, and I have entrepreneurial seizures. That's what we call them around our household. And where I'm like, oh, that's a great idea because I see everything as blue skies and rainbows, and
Yeah.
I always have. But yeah, that makes things very interesting. That team, though, the team concept's important. Like you just said, the more you get into that level of business, like we've built multiple companies to 7 figures a year. We've had one over the course of 7, 8 years that we've busted 8. But it involved a team. It involved getting
Yeah.
the right people in the right seats on the bus. And if you don't have them in the right seats on the bus, it can create chaos. One wrong team member can create chaos.
So
So
true.
yeah. Do you guys help with that piece as people are exiting? Do y'all help with team culture and hiring, firing? Is that a piece of what you guys do?
So we'll identify where there might be a gap. If we see that if the business does need to make a hire, we can make a recommendation, and we even can coach on some strategies in the hiring process. But we're not an HR agency, so we're not the ones that
Yeah.
are going to go out and, get that person for you. But we can provide some support, and yeah, definitely say, you're stressing your team at this little critical spot. You might want to consider adding someone in an operations role or a marketing role or something like that. So,
Yeah, there's a big difference. You hear Hormozy and all these guys all the time talking about, one A player is worth many B and C players
oh
inside
yeah.
your organization.
Well, and people worry about the price tag for an A player, but if you get a true A player, and I love the Patrick Lencioni, humble, hungry,
Mhm.
smart. You get somebody who's humble and hungry and smart,
Yeah,
and they join your team, they're going to make you more money than you pay them. There's
yeah,
always going to be a net positive. And you're going to add those people, and then you're going to feel like you can't live without them.
right.
So I'm always all about, somebody's worth a higher price tag. It's, you know, it might be a financial commitment for business, but you won't regret it.
Yeah, I think there's so many things in our businesses that we look at as expenses that aren't expenses. They're really investments. And
Right.
we
People
forget,
are definitely that way.
yeah, the language, one word, like changing that one word changes the whole way we see it, view it, feel about it. It's kind of fascinating how that works. If there's a business owner out there listening and they're like, look, I want to make sure that I build the foundation right, what are some pieces of advice you would give them after working with businesses for the last however many years? And how would they, what are some of the things that they need to make sure that they're building into their business, whether they're exiting or just building a good, solid business to be able to do, like you said a minute ago, the doctor wanted to be able to just go travel and take care of his family and do those things.
Yeah. Well, we've already touched on a lot of those, but I think beyond the things that we've already talked about is um, knowing your numbers and
Mm,
knowing the way you're pricing yourself, the way you're valuing your time, knowing what feeds into the bottom line. If you have incentive structures in place for your employees and how all of those are going to work together for everybody to be trying to accomplish the same goal,
yeah.
you have to really sit down and think carefully about making sure everything is aligned well. One of the things we do in our coaching is called the product profitability audit. And what we'll find very often are business owners will sometimes offer things that really aren't helping their business, but they
Oh
are
yeah.
taking a lot of time. So
Yeah, we've done that.
sometimes they have, yeah, yeah. And sometimes it was a cool idea or a service
Yeah.
or a product that worked at one point,
Yeah.
and now it's kind of legacy product, and we just haven't reevaluated whether it's really worth the investment that we're putting into it. And if we saved the time that we were wasting, or making a small margin over here, and just use that saved time for something that's one of our higher level offerings, what would that do for our business? So I think thinking strategically about your business, and making sure everything is aligned with that. Um, you know, I blanking on the name of Harvard researcher who talks about when you're thinking about business strategy, you want to put yourself on a playing field of your choice, knowing that you're going to win.
Mm,
And I think about that a lot when we're thinking at that high level. Are we doing that? Are we positioning our business so that we're on a playing field where we know we can win? And are we structuring our product offering and our incentives so that the bottom line is going to come out the way we want it to?
yeah.
The other thing I would say, besides the things we've already talked about, just surrounding yourself with people who have the expertise you don't.
Mm,
That's why I love referring people to you, Cory. When we're talking about AI SEO, which is a big topic nowadays, your name is the first one out of my mouth when I'm talking to business owners, because, like you said at the beginning, there are guys who are more operations oriented,
yeah, for
like
sure.
me. And then there are people who are better on the marketing side. There are people who are going to really be experts on your accounting and your bookkeeping,
Yeah,
your
that's not me.
legal. Yeah, yeah, me neither. And so having that team, even if they're just friends, even if they're not on your payroll, just
Yeah.
make sure that you've got someone in your corner who will be a truth teller with you, and give you that expert knowledge, that because as a business owner, you can't know everything, and it's okay that you
No.
don't, but
Yeah.
find the right people. Yeah.
I think, and maybe this is just the way we think about things, but I know when I got into business, of course, I grew up in business. You did too, I think, right? Family
Yep.
business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, growing up around small business, I didn't really think about it. It was just the way life was, just what we did. And dad was an entrepreneur. My brothers ended up working in the family business. I worked in the family business for years. I didn't really know any different. And I knew pretty quickly that I was pretty ruined to work for anybody else at some point after ministry. Like I was going, I don't want to go to work for somebody. And so but I think we forget as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we live on an island, and it can be a lonely world. And like you
Yeah.
just said, when we surround ourselves, get in community with people that are also business owners and on the same path, and especially if we get around ones that have the same values, I think that's a big one. So
Yeah.
along that same lines, how has your faith like shaped how you lead and build and what you guys have done at STAG? Because I know that's a big part of what you guys do. You even mentioned a minute ago with the doctors, like
Yeah.
they had things that they wanted to do that was faith based.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, that's everything. You and I are similar, grew up in a family business, but have also been involved with ministry, and just the bigger picture of what I want my life's purpose to be about.
Yeah,
And, serving God, and then using the resources and things that he has blessed me with to glorify him and his kingdom. And what that is for a business owner can look different. But that gets back to kind of the beginning where I was talking about wanting our business owners to thrive
yeah,
and not be stuck in a job, a prison of their own making. And when you break through that, and as a business owner, you do have financial success, that gives you an opportunity to bless other people, and
absolutely.
to be someone who's doing good things in the community and in your church. And to me, that's what it's all about. And so the business owners that we work with tend to be aligned with our way of thinking. They know
Yeah,
that we're Christians and that we have those values. And so, and it just shapes everything that we think when we're talking day to day. So yeah, it's a huge part of who I am and who all of the partners are at Stag. So
What do you? You hit on something earlier about ambition, because I think that's a challenge for me, because I'm a one. I get bored pretty easy. I gotta I do gotta be doing something, right? And I love
yeah, yeah,
learning. I'll be a lifetime learner. I'll never stop
yeah,
learning new
same.
things and new technology and new this or that. And I also love serving, helping people. That's why we've been in ministry pretty much our whole lives. I know you guys are kind of aligned that same way. What are some things that are trying to think about how to ask this? Because I'm thinking about like the idea of ambition alignment, because I think
Yeah,
what you asked earlier about sometimes ambition gets in the way because we feel like we got to push, 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 push. And
yeah,
we've seen this hustle culture, this got to grind it and blah, 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 blah for years. And that was pushed
yeah,
really heavy in social media and all of that. Like for people out there that are, because I know a lot of the business owners are kind of stuck in that. How do you get people out of that, I don't know, just that hamster wheel of, I got to push harder, I got to do more, I got to grind? Because right? I mean, I know the
yeah.
business owners I talk to, like you said earlier, they don't have any room in their calendar. They're already right at the top, right? It's already pushing everything they got just to do what they're doing.
Yeah, it's funny you bring this up because when I was telling somebody about the personality assessment that I was talking about earlier, and they were asking me the difference in methods that are out there. One of the dimensions that we test is basically drive, is what we label it in the test, but it's really a binary, and one of them is ambitious. Can you guess what the other one is? It's
Alignment.
actually, well, it's contentment.
Oh,
Contentment.
yeah.
So ambitious or content. And I always thought, well, there's only one right answer when we're talking about drive. It's the
Yeah.
ambitious. But really, like, there is value in having contentment too.
Yeah.
And really, I think you can reach that place of contentment when big picture answers and you feel like you're aligned with what you want. Your life is aligned with those big picture answers that allows you to find that balance between ambition and contentment. And so, it's kind of cool how all this ties together to our Christian faith, but also our drive as business owners and what we want to find that balance. People are always talking about this, balance that they want in
Yeah.
their life, and you never really achieve it. But I think that's one way, is just finding contentment really depends on us knowing that where we're headed is aligned with our big picture values and purpose. And, as a Christian, I would say God is using me right where I need to be.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, sometimes you just gotta, I just gotta take a breath and like get outside. And
Yeah.
I call my office, I've got an office that I like working in, but I call it my cave. And sometimes I got to crawl out of the cave and be a real person again. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think everybody needs that. I think especially business owners.
Yeah. You and I were talking about this the other day on y'all's podcast, how experiences and experiential and all of that's going to become even a bigger deal. I really do think that many business owners get so caught up in what they're doing that they forget to live life.
Yeah.
They're just, day to day, crisis to crisis, customer to customer, and it doesn't really matter the business. It could be like
Yeah.
you and I were talking about restaurants earlier. It could be a restaurant, it could be an HVAC company, it could be somebody that sells jewelry. It doesn't matter the type of business that it is. They all have that same thing. It could be online like us. I know guys that are out there doing virtual online businesses that brag about all this time and resources and stuff they have. And if you went and spent a day with them, it's a very different view of than what they're actually selling online. It doesn't look anything like their life. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't match up, which I think that alignment affects people too. I think it affects the business owners as they're going out trying to talk to people and what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I want to have a good marriage. I want to have great relationships with my kids. I want to be
Yeah.
active in my church. I mean, there's so much that I want to do besides, and I want to make a good living and have a successful business. And I think a lot of business owners can relate to that. We're not machines. And I heard a quote the other day that I liked. It was talking about, not being present and not taking time to enjoy the present moment. And he was saying everything that's in our head is, if you think about it, it's not real. The real is right here.
That's right.
And so as long as you're staying in your head all day, you're not even spending your day in what's real.
Yeah.
You're worried about what could be real in the future, or, and I loved that. It's a good reminder that we got to be present.
Yeah. We just forget. There's something about being intentional. I think we need coaches, just like you were talking about. You guys were able to help the doctors see something they hadn't seen. And I know you probably have a bazillion stories that same way, where you guys met with somebody, had a conversation, whether it's a mastermind or one-on-one, and you could see the light bulbs go. I love when that happens inside of our mastermind. Or we did a eForge mastermind here, I don't know, it was a month, two ago, and I watched as one of the guys went from being uncertain to certain when he left. And just that one shift was worth the whole year of being in the mastermind. It shifted everything about what he does and who he is and where his direction's going. And yeah, it's crazy when you get certain about where you need to go and what you're doing, how much clearer everything becomes. And like you said, it's about more than just the business.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of another example as you're saying that. One of the business owners that was in the mastermind was up on her lease agreement, and she had this very large space. She had a counseling business, or still does, and she was just talking to us about whether she should lease this space or lease a smaller space. And through the course of the mastermind, it came out that someone was trying to sell a property over here, and that she should look at that. Anyway, she ended up buying something where now she'll have equity, but also it was a much better space. And it was just cool to see in that mastermind group with all these people talking together, and the way that you start thinking differently as a business owner. And she's in a perfect spot, the right size. It's much better fit for her clients. It feels like a more personal home environment. So yeah, I guess that brings together all the things we're talking about, because the right people helping you see things and really get into a place that, is aligned with what you want.
Well, you and I both know you get in the right room, it changes everything.
That's right.
Right? You get in the right room with the right people, and it can make a world of difference for you, for your family, for your income, for your relationships. It doesn't matter even what area we're talking about. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about the right room in business or in church or whatever. Like, it's this good for us to get around people that are where we want to be, doing the things that we want to do. And it's amazing to me how often we take advice from people that aren't even living life the way we want to live. And yet we take the advice from them. It's like, why would I do that? It doesn't make any sense, but we do it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. We're the average. I love that quote. We're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Yeah.
And who are you spending your time with? Are they bringing up your average? Are they making you a better person, or are they influencing you in a direction that's not aligned with who God is calling you to be and who you should be?
Yeah. Scripture would say, bad company corrupts good character, right? Like you can pull all of these things back to Scripture. Like, it's fascinating to watch how it all can come back to that. Yeah.
That's right.
If somebody wanted to find out more about you guys, what you're doing, maybe get involved, because I know you guys have the mastermind here in Lubbock, and I think you said the other day y'all are trying to get in other areas. You might have Dallas or something too. Yeah.
So Fort Worth, we'll have a mastermind kicking off later this summer. We're also looking to expand into Plainview.
Okay.
So, and coming soon, some other surrounding Lubbock area. So like Amarillo, Abilene, Midland, Odessa areas are some areas that we're looking to start mastermind groups soon. So
nice.
Yeah, but to get in touch with us, you can visit our website at stagcoaching.com. So not stage coaching, stagcoaching.com. And
is that what people put in there? They end up putting stage coaching?
Oh no, it just, when you see it typed out, it
does kind of look that way, doesn't it?
That it's really close to stage coaching, but it's STAG coaching. Yeah. And on our website, you can schedule a call. Our first consult is free, and we can talk with anybody about, what they want to do with their business, whether they're looking to exit or would like to join a mastermind group or talk about any of our products. So
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's kind of cool is you've got multiple opportunities for somebody because I think even our nephew and them went through y'all's mastermind coaching with Monomyth here locally, and so I love it because I know I know that those rooms are powerful, like you said, when you get around other and again, most of the time entrepreneurs they live on an island, they don't have that. A lot of times we don't have that connection or that group of people that we can turn to and go, hey, this is a problem only an entrepreneur is going to understand. And there's only, I think, I heard a stat one time, there's only like 4% or something like that of people around the world that are even geared to be entrepreneurs, that are designed and wired in a way to do this. Because this isn't an easy life, man. There's a reason they call it the entrepreneurial roller coaster for a reason.
That's exactly right.
It's a wild ride.
You need people with you in your corner. So
yeah. Now, well, I know you guys are doing amazing things over there. I think the value that you guys are bringing to the table is huge. This has been powerful. I think people are realizing through this conversation, it's not just about building a business, it's about building something that actually has value beyond you. So if you guys want to connect with Kellen, learn more about what they're doing with STAG Business Coaching, make sure that you check out the STAG Coaching website, give them a holler, drop them a message. I also know that they have their podcast on YouTube. I was just looking at that
Business
the other
Growth
day. I think
Masterclass.
you guys have 70-something episodes up, right?
Yeah, I think we release 78 tomorrow, our 78th episode. Yeah.
Look at that, 78. And that's, people don't realize that there's only like 10%, I think, of all podcasts that get past 10 episodes or something. It's not very many. So you guys are a 10%er already because of where you're at.
All right.
Look at that.
We'll take it.
Look, if you're someone that's serious about building, scaling, actually executing, make sure and check these guys out. And that's also what we kind of do inside of eForge with what we do with, especially with marketing companies that are looking to scale and grow. That's the direction that we're going. That's what we try to do on a weekly basis with our coaching calls. Guys, look, make sure and check out this call. The next Thursday, we're going to drop an episode. Make sure and check back then because this is the Forge where leaders are made and legacies are built.